Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the January 15th regular meeting of the Historic District Commission. I am Regan Miner. I'm the vice chairman here this evening, running the show. I want everyone to know the meeting is being recorded. So this goes back to City Hall after we're done here today. If you're not speaking, please have yourself on mute so we can prevent any sort of background noise. For those who haven't been with us before, our meeting is separated into two different portions. The first half is going to be the public hearing where the applicants will have the opportunity to present their applications and for the commission members to ask any questions. When the public hearing closes, the regular meeting will begin, which is where the commission discusses and votes on applications. Applicants are welcome to stay and listen to the regular meeting, but at that point, they cannot provide any more comment or public feedback regarding their application. So you don't have to stay, you're always invited to, but it's not mandatory. Regardless, applicants will receive written notification about their application and regarding the commission's decision the next business day via email. Any questions before we continue on here? All right, we're just let me know if there are questions as we go along. So the first COA on our agenda here is COA 566, which is 21 West Town Street. Do we have any folks here to represent that application? You guys?
Yes,
okay,
that's
perfect. Well, then I will turn the floor to you to give us a little bit of an update about your application.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Karen Moore, and I have my son Kyle Moore with me. 21 West Town Street is a two-family house, and we're occupying both parts of the two-family house.
Awesome.
I purchased the house in December 2023, and when I bought it, I knew that the garage roof was leaking, and it would be something I'd have to attend to. I did not know that the main house might have a roof problem. The interesting thing is it's entirely in asphalt shingles of various vintages and various colors. I think I have 5 different types of shingles, all asphalt, but the front of the garage is single tab. And so I'm not sure that the house needs to be replaced at this point, but the person, I had a previous COA for windows that was completed and inspections completed now. It went very well, thank you. And then the person who did the windows noticed that the main house roof might be compromised. So I'd like to apply for a permit for both I have a permit for the garage. And I want to thank Tim Dohan for verifying that you can't see the garage from the road and it's like materials. So I did get a building permit for the garage roof, but I'm covering it in this application. So I would like to make the house and garage match. And I picked a natural wood colored type shingle that I think will, blend nicely, and it will unify the look of the house. So it's really to protect the house and the garage. And right now there's a dish on top of the house. So I look forward to making it look a little more historic without the dish and unifying the look of the roof and making sure that the house is not leaking. So that's really what my application's about. So I appreciate your consideration. I think that pretty much covers it.
Great. All right, sounds good to me. Great, thank you. Do any members of the commission have questions for the applicant? I see the 2 Gregs on Zoom.
No questions for me, Regan. I think it seems pretty straightforward. It looks like a good project.
Oh, no, I'm not.
All right, Greg Farley, you're good too? Thumbs up? You can just say thumbs up. Those are muted, my friend. Perfect. Awesome. Anyone up? Dane, you have any questions?
No, I don't.
I don't have any questions either. Seems very straightforward. And sounds like a good project. Thank you. Thank you for being here and being able to present. So thank you. So we'll be in touch with you tomorrow regarding the application's decision.
Excellent.
So you're welcome to stay. You are welcome to. You don't have to.
I think we'll probably go and wait for your answer and good feedback. And
That's great.
thank you. In the future, we'll have other applications for like a chimney cap and things like that.
That's what we're here for.
I couldn't get that together in time, but
That's this is very thorough. We appreciate this.
I'm trying to do a bite at a time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Enjoy the evening.
You have a lovely house.
I know.
You really
it's
do.
beautiful.
The state is doing a project, on the road. They're straightening the road, so I'm hoping they're not going to take out my northern white cedars because that masks the house.
I hear you.
But I have to reach out to them because I missed their meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, good luck with that.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for.
Thank
coming.
you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So that's the only application that we have here in our public meeting, but I do see quite a number of folks on Zoom. And I wanted to, since we are in the public hearing portion and it's open to the public, open it up for the folks on Zoom if there was anything in particular they needed to discuss. Because at this point, after that, we'd go through the regular meeting, but I want to give the public the opportunity to discuss anything at this time. So I see a bunch of folks and I'm happy to hear from anybody.
Hello, Regan. It's Pam Kinder from UCFS.
Hi Pam, good to see you.
Good to see you. We're here to talk about a project, kind of a multi-phase project. And I'm going to let John do most of the talking regarding the project. So, John?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that, Ms.
Hey,
Kinder. My
hey,
name-
Regan, I thought we had this on the agenda under new business to talk about the UCSF project.
Yes, but they won't be able to comment under the regular meeting, and since this is a public hearing open to the public, I'd like to give them the chance to talk.
Okay, so this section is not just for the public hearing on the COAs?
Well, this is a public hearing in general. It's for the COAs, but it's open to the public to discuss and comment on what they need to discuss. So, because if we go to the regular meeting, then we can't hear the feedback from UCFS on the mural project, So,
and it's not really the mural project based on the feedback I received. The mural project is part of the monument committee with the Department of Public Works. So I met with them today regarding the mural. This is on the other aspects of the project that John wants to do. And we were advised to kind of bring it to this committee.
gotcha. Okay, go for it, Pam.
Go ahead, John.
Sure. So my name is John Mills. I'm the president of the Alex Brand Corporation. We're a Connecticut-based nonprofit that we do research into the formerly enslaved. The mural project that Pam is talking about is relative to a formerly enslaved man in Norwich. He has a slave narrative that was written into a book by Lydia Sigourney that was published in 1824, and a narrative that's pretty unknown. And he talks about his transatlantic slave journey, about seeing his father die on the slave ship and being enslaved to the Lathrop family in Norwich all of his life, to Ebenezer Lathrop, then to Simon Lathrop, and then living out his life in his late 80s and 90s in a warehouse that was across the street from Rufus Lathrop's home on Washington Street, right next door to the East District Schoolhouse, which is a historic building that still stands. And in Lydia Sigourney's 1824 book, she talks about the children walking next door and talking to him and him telling them about his slave journey, his life and enslavement. But all of these stories kind of build into his son fighting in the Revolutionary War and then having his freedom purchased when he comes back by Caleb Huntington, and then having to purchase his wife's freedom. So it's a deep story of the Revolutionary War. It goes into his great grandsons fighting in the Civil War, and one of his great grandsons are inscribed into the 29th Connecticut Colored Regiment Monument in New Haven, where the 29th trained. It's like a broad, long story that began with enslavement in Norwich. And so I brought this to UCFS and to the Historical Society there in Norwich, and to the local NAACP chapter, because he's likely buried at Old Norwich Town Cemetery, but as you probably all know, the African-American section of that cemetery has like one stone. And so there's like nothing there. There's not even marked that it is the African-American section of the cemetery, as well as Job Lathrop, Primus's son, who fought in the Revolution. No one knows where he was buried, yet there's a panel at the open front of Old Norwich Town Cemetery that lists all the white participants of the Revolution. And so I was looking to, one, see if we can get a mural painted on the back wall of one of the UCFS buildings that face that African-American section of Norwich Town Cemetery. And so that's the piece that Pam was talking about. The second was to install some type of a signage or something that denotes that section of the cemetery being where the African Americans were buried, specifically a few names of Revolutionary War soldiers that we know are buried there without stones. And so something that just marked that section, and potentially cenotaph stones that we would get for free from the VA if we applied for them. So that's the second piece of it. And then the third piece of it is right there on Washington Street, knowing that Primus was enslaved there. His enslaver lived right across the street, and where his home was, which is formerly just a warehouse for Simon and Rufus Lathrop, is just a parking nook today, right next to that East District Schoolhouse. We're hoping to see if we can somehow put signage there, some type of panel that tells this long story, this deep story about an enslaved man in Norwich with a narrative, 16-page narrative that no one really knows much about, and his journeys, and tells the story of his family right there next to the schoolhouse where children walk next door to talk to him, including Lydia Sigourney. And so that was the other piece of the effort we're looking to pursue.
Wonderful. Thank you. That sounds awesome. From a commission standpoint, it sounds like the mural would likely fall with not in our jurisdiction. If it's going to be on the UC, if it's not going to be on the Meadow Center building, that would fall out of our jurisdiction. If you wanted to do something with the Huntington House, that would fall within the historic district. So that would be something we'd have to see. I have to have it come before the commission. But anything with the mural on the Meadow Center building, on Town Street, that would likely fall under planning and zoning.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm sure
I
you're
met with Brian today, Brian
Okay.
Long, and showed
Yeah.
him the building. He doesn't see any issues with it, but he needs a rendition of the mural.
for sure.
So that would be our next step in regards to that. We came to this meeting for kind of John's phase 2 and 3 ideas, or 1 and 2, depending on how you were to categorize them. We were advised to come to this meeting for that. So we're
Gotcha.
just
Yeah,
supporting
absolutely.
John.
Absolutely. No, yeah. So what we would need for your next phases, then John or Pam or whoever's going to put the application together, we'd of course need a certificate of appropriateness outlining the plan for the 2 signs proposed, cenotaph, and then the project for the burying ground. Right?
Why do we need that?
Because the burying ground isn't within the historic district.
If it's going in the burying ground, yes.
Yeah, if the signage is going in the burying ground, then it'd have to come before the commission, correct? And even if, I know that there was talk of that plaque on East Town Street, the entrance to the burying ground in that direction, that would also fall within the historic district, and that would need to be reviewed as well. So we can certainly talk and discuss locations. We're happy to send out the map of the boundaries of the historic district to see if the proposed signage would fall within that, and we're happy to discuss that and figuring out next steps.
Sure. Right now, the intent really is, we know that the signage that's on the gate to the old Norwich Town Cemetery, is lacking in limiting names. But right now, that really wasn't a focus. It was really some type of monument or signage or something within the cemetery at the location where the Black section is, and then cenotaphs there. And then the second piece, which was related to signage, is on Washington Street, right there next to the East District Schoolhouse.
Gotcha. Okay, so both those 2 locations then would fall within the historic district, so we can help you get information about how to submit an application for us to review. So that should be hopefully an easy process.
Okay.
It needs a approval of the
Before we close up on that information, could we get a copy of that for the founders of Norwich,
Yeah,
the archives?
the research and the book from Lydia Sigourney, or just the request, which pieces?
The information you have. We have the book. The Sigourney book, we do not.
James L. Smith, he's got information on this slave.
The information you have on the slave, we have the Sigourney book.
So how
Okay.
about I connect you and John offline, and you guys can organize what
Good.
information.
All right.
Something we'll need.
Yeah,
But
because
he
we like,
said he emailed to the Society of Founders, that's all.
yeah, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
Sure.
We'll connect you guys offline and get that squared away.
Okay.
So this sounds great, John. Thank you for all the information, and thank you, UCFS, for showing up today to this meeting. We appreciate it. So John, we're happy to connect with you about next steps for your application. I don't know what your timeline is. You know, we do have a meeting in February. I don't know if you want to get things together for that meeting, or if you need a little bit more time, we meet every month, so there's time.
Okay, yeah, sure. Ultimately, I'm doing a lot of this and hopefully in preparation for, 250th planning, and so that we have recognition of Job, right, and this life of his family. So, we've got a little time as well.
Perfect.
But yeah,
And if you have any questions, I'm happy to chat with you about the application process, and, we'll make sure that we can help you to the best of our ability over here.
And
Thank-
Regan, just as a reminder, it's due the 15th of the month prior to your meeting. Can you remind me of that?
Yeah, so normally we meet as a commission on the third Wednesday of the month. So if anything, we would need it like the Tuesday prior, so like a week and then a day in advance.
Okay, perfect.
Even possible, like the Monday before, to give Catherine enough time to get things to the city and provide the agenda to the city clerk's office. So if possible, like, when is that? I can't do math. Is that 9 days in advance of the meeting?
Week
Okay,
plus one.
A week plus a day at least. Yeah.
perfect. That's good to know.
Reagan,
Thank you.
this is Jen Granger. Just one quick question. So, John could submit the application independently on behalf through the Alex Brion agency, organization, as opposed to having it need to come through UCFS through a Norwich headquartered organization. I just want to be clear on that part of the process so that it comes, he'll do the bulk of the work to prepare it, but how does it have to be submitted?
Yeah, so
You could figure that out and let us know, but.
yeah, he's welcome to submit the application. What we would need from UCFS is just a written authorization saying that you are okay with him acting on your behalf, and that if he's going to present the application, saying something to the effect of, you are okay with him presenting the application on this project.
Okay, so
And you can
we'll
include that with the application. We can
we'll
figure
figure out that wording. Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that.
Yeah.
That part. Okay,
Yeah, we basically just need a letter from the owner, or, well, in this
because we
case,
don't own the cemetery, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
Reagan, when we did this before with the veterans group that wanted to put the flagpole in the cemetery, it came directly from them. I mean, because they don't own the cemetery.
right.
that's true. What we could do is, the application could always include the ruling from the Monuments Commission, which is via the city. That could probably suffice as like the quote unquote owner's letter.
Approval. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Why don't we do that? Thank you. I forgot. I was realizing as we were talking, I was like, it's the burying ground. Wait a second. You see if that doesn't own that burying ground.
No.
That makes sense. Thank you, guys.
Great. Well, thank you. We look forward to this exciting project and working further with John.
Yeah.
And certainly we know how to reach out if we have any questions, and thanks for the quick responses to all of my emails.
Absolutely. Happy to help, and sounds like an exciting project.
Yes.
Very
thank you
good.
for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Hey, is there anything,
So if
Yeah.
I'm not able to talk
yeah, you
uh,
can talk now.
during the other one, I'll do what I'm saying here. Folders, electronic stuff. I do have a couple boxes of some architectural type stuff that you or it had been passed to me. And I also have the book of all the guidelines
Yeah.
so I was storing those. I have them down in the truck. But if we can transfer those, that's
Yeah, we can
fine.
discuss that for sure.
I followed up as an unofficial, artificial, and then it's gone into now my unofficial status of the process of applicants
Mhm.
in the queue here for the application to the HDC. Appears to be a very fluid and not well documented process here, other than go to the website, put your application in. What's missing after that is certainly the applicant's zeal to go in and find out what's going on. And if we don't know about it, we're kind of blind on this.
Mhm.
But anyone that's interested, I went through and talked with, I couldn't talk with Bonnie yesterday, but did talk with Jackie Barbarossa, and we
Mhm.
talked with Sheila Hayes, who's
Mhm.
part of the process here. Anyone that's a Norwich constituent, got to be registered to vote, I think, in Norwich, or at least live in Norwich, can apply at the website. That goes and alerts the mayor's assistant slash the council secretary, Bonnie Kubrick.
Mhm.
She gets a notice of that. And on top of that, I think Jackie Barbarossa knows about those applicants, but may or may not be interested depending on which commission that they're looking at.
Mhm.
Apparently, when they get a sufficient number of applications, Bonnie will work with the reappointment committee council to schedule a meeting and a pre-meeting interview. So I think
Mhm.
last meeting we talked about how someone was on this agenda here. Basically, they do their pre-meeting, they'll do the schedule their interviews,
Mhm.
and then after that, go into their regular meeting or into their meeting. Jackie is also notified of, like I said, and I think she works with the clerk and Bonnie to set up this subcommittee's agenda.
Mhm.
No one tells the applicant that they received. The application was received and it's in proper form. No one that we've seen has gotten any notification that there's a interview process and what's going on there. So I think again, onus is on the applicant to say, hey, where do I stand here on this?
Our former president, George.
So at any rate, my recommendation is that, this applicant keeps on, pinging on
Mhm.
the players at B here,
Yeah.
Bonnie Kubrick, Jackie Barbarossa, city
Mhm.
clerk, Rosanna,
Mhm.
um,
So,
yeah,
mhm.
and or Sheila Hayes, which is from the city council, is part of that subcommittee, the
Mhm.
reappointment appointment. The whole process then goes, once they work together and they've set up an agenda and set up a schedule, the meeting goes on. Again, none of the applicants have been notified, the last two that we know of. And they haven't shown up on any of the agendas, because
Yeah.
we started looking at that, and they haven't had a meeting since December. So,
Yeah.
um,
Do we
but-
know when they're meeting next?
no, and I think
Okay.
it would be pinging on them. I did
Yeah.
before ask Sheila to kind of fast track, what we had. And, but I think the committee is kind of based, or we're waiting on Bonnie or Jackie or
Yeah.
someone to set up the agenda and set up that meeting,
Okay.
for them to get it going. And they don't look and see that there's applications and ping on them to say, well, why aren't we having another meeting? They assume it's the other way around.
Mhm.
Goes to that meeting. Coming out of that meeting, there is a recommendation after they've
Mhm.
interviewed and actioned the application. There's a recommendation that goes back to the council secretary, Bonnie.
Yeah.
And I think there's another thing there where she'll then work again with the same Jackie and the clerk, and they'll put it together, not just the recommendation, they move the recommendation into a resolution. And the resolution is what they put on the city council's meeting agenda, who meets every
Right.
2 weeks.
Right.
So whatever comes out of that eventually has to go into another form, a resolution that gets processed. And at that point, I think there's a little bit more documentation, because when it's on their agenda, it's a yay or nay of doing this. And I think that action's documented, and the applicants, I certainly have seen letters come to say my term is extended or
Yeah.
whatever, so. But I think there's realize that there's some sort of blockage there. So that said, that's kind of the whole process here.
Yeah.
It's TBD when that next meeting comes, but Jackie was able to look at the applicants. Megan, who started back in September and missed her meeting, didn't know about it. and then didn't know she had to apparently reapply. That's Bonnie's process. I don't think Jackie agrees with that. Bonnie's opinion is, are they still interested? I don't know, but she just wipes them off and says, come back and do a reapply. But if it's a person not even notified, I don't know. I know Tyler Booth was on an agenda back in December. He never knew about any interview, so he doesn't show up in any of the meeting minutes. That's another part of the problem in the meeting minutes. It doesn't state, this guy never showed up. This guy never showed up. That would kind of be a clue to say, hey, something's wrong here. Why aren't they showing up? He was October 29th, missed apparently his meeting. Sean Edgecombe was November 13th. No, they haven't shown up. He hasn't shown up on any agenda. Megan reapplied back on 12/18 and still hasn't shown up. She reapplied twice because Jackie said, I got 2 of them for her on that same date. So she must have hit the submit button a couple times. And then Ed Aberbach, he was here at the last meeting. He had applied December 2nd, and he's not shown up on any agenda yet. So I figure that if someone pings Bonnie, Sheila, Jackie, someone to say, we got 4 people waiting here for the alternate position, what can we do here? Something will start moving on. So that's where that stands. I don't know if any of them now have in the queue, if they're all the same, or if there's, hey, wait a second, I'm sure they're gonna interview them all and then they make their recommendations. I believe right now, well, from the December meeting, Tyler missed his, didn't say anything, but it did say that you, Mr. Farlow, had been made from the alternate regular member. And that struck Jackie as, that's not correct. He didn't, first off, no one reapplied, and at that time, there wasn't a vacancy, so I'm not sure why they were ruling unless it was preemptive that they knew I was retiring.
Unless it was Jake's vacancy.
But
I don't want to be a regular member.
Yeah, we know that, Greg.
right,
Go ahead.
There's-
That's
right.
fine.
So there's five regular members, 3 alternates. So right
Right.
now, I thought Dane, you moved up to take Jake's spot.
Well, the same thing happened to me when I received a letter in the mail saying that I've been appointed a regular member of the commission, but I never reapplied. I was never interviewed. I received no notification except the letter in the
But you
mail.
were an alternate.
I was an alternate, yes.
And so that's one of the things Sheila's saying, well, sometimes if you're already on the commission, even as an alternate, we don't need to have a interview.
We've gotten 3 different answers.
I've had to.
Bonnie says they have to reapply. Jackie says they don't have to. Sheila says sometimes.
Yeah.
That's 3 different answers from 3 different people, and nobody seems to know who makes the decision.
So
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
Welcome to Norwich.
the website definitely has you as a full member out through the 20th there. So in that case, I think the website thinks that there's 1 vacancy. Greg, it still mentions you as an alternate, and I don't think there's been any resolution that's gone to the city council for whatever they decided on in December for you, Greg, to move you up or down. So I
That's
think,
fine, whatever they do.
okay, that all said, we have 4 people in the queue, but also they made the whatever recommendation for you in December, but your term ends on the 24th of, the 30th, you ended on the 31st of last year. So
Who, me?
you, so
Yeah.
they're saying that you need to at least reapply.
Fine.
And in talking to them about whether you want to remain as an alternate or not.
Yeah.
They're okay with that, but you'd want to get in touch with Sheila on this. But
All right, Sheila's the one.
you don't get moved off of the commission because you didn't put in resignation, even though your term ended, you still are an active member in whatever status that you were, until you've been replaced. So you stand in, they could replace you since your term ended and they have 4 people here. They could say, okay, let's get these 4 in.
Okay, understood.
All right.
Okay.
So that's what they're saying there. Again, I don't know, where they stand with these 4. And, again, we've had, Megan trying to get in there and, you know, the background on some of those things there,
Mhm.
getting her or getting one of these people up onto the, regular member
Mhm,
might, expand the
mhm.
expand the view for executive committees
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Okay.
that's where it stands there.
Tim, thank you. That's a lot of work to.
Yes,
Just like
thank
that.
you, Tim, for
That's really
really diving into that nitty gritty
It-
and getting that information.
It
Thank you.
was just what I needed to say. I think I have to go to Florida to get.
I don't disagree with that.
Stay away from Southern Cal.
Yeah.
And so I had 2 other things that, and I noticed that, not that I should have gone on the HDC mail and I'll get rid of that link, but, someone had cleaned that up and made it very organized now. I usually just look a month, I just looked a month back and said, when was that last legal notice sent out? When were the things? So I kind of used previous ones and queued on that. But we did get an inquiry from, I want to say, 160 Broad Street, someone,
Mhm.
a neighbor who I think was looking out a bedroom or something, was noticing a roof, it's a slate roof, but on the back of the roof, they've done some repair work, but I don't think it's visible from any place. But this person was saying, what a shame on this one house, what can you do? I responded back and then I forgot about it as part of my chairman's report, my last thing to do here. So I did respond to the person, not 160 Broad Street, but the person that had complained, and that you should see that in somewhere in the late November, December messages sent from there. And so said we would look into it.
Mhm.
And like I said, I didn't think it was visible,
Okay.
type of thing. But they weren't repairing slate with slate. It wasn't like for like of whatever
Okay.
they were doing back there. And the only other thing that I had wouldn't it be nice, was in talking with Dan Coley in the building department. I know we did a lot of work on the application here. And he had suggested at one point of using their application for permits as part of the COA, and somehow we could tie those all together. I never went further with it to see, is there a way that we could do this? Kind of to support our data mining or anything, to say, hey, how many fence applications did we get? How many roof applications? That would be a little bit more, a little easier to do, other than, I think Catherine and I had come up with like a naming convention on some of the COAs that, okay, it's COA this, a name and it's roof or something. It's in the file name, but you'd have to weed through all of those. So it might be easier. And as an unofficial looky-loo who's somehow got some technical things, I may poke around in there if no one minds. So
Yeah, I remember I had spoken with Dan Coley about that when they first launched the program, and I didn't follow up either, but that's an interesting idea.
I think they have a lot of capabilities in that, and they can hide whatever our side is from what they have to do with the application versus the tie to the HDC. So
Yeah.
I'll look at that and maybe I'll come back as an unofficial guest here. But folder that, and I've got a couple boxes, and then I'll shut up.
Hey Reagan, if we could close off and move along, I'm kind of time limited here, so if you want my vote, you need to move along.
Right. So with that being said, it looks like we're gonna close the public hearing at 6:07 and go into the regular meeting. First item is action on the COAs, which is COA 566, 21 West Town Street. I'll entertain a motion to accept the application as presented and written.
I move to accept it as presented.
I'll second.
Second, Greg Johnson, appreciate it. Any
Okay.
discussion?
Nope.
Nope.
Hearing none, all those in favor, I'll do the roll call. I'll start with folks on Zoom. Greg Farlow. Greg Johnson,
Aye.
Dane,
Yes.
and I also vote in favor. Motion passes unanimously. Next up is approval of the minutes from the Wednesday, December 18th, 2024 regular meeting minutes. I'd entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written.
So moved.
Thank you, Greg Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Dane, thank you. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll do the roll call vote again. All those in favor, I'll start with you, Greg Farlow. Go ahead, Greg Farlow.
You just raise your hand, Greg.
Perfect. Greg Johnson,
I'm sorry.
Yes.
great. Thank you, guys. Dane,
Yes.
and I also vote yes. Thank you as always, Catherine. Appreciate it.
Right there.
I don't have a chairman's report and I don't have any old business, so I'm gonna head straight into new business. I know we have the UCFS mural project under new business. I think we covered most of that under the public hearing portion of the meeting. It
Mhm.
sounds like the mural does not fall within our jurisdiction. That would be on the UCFS building on Town Street, which falls outside of the historic district.
Mhm.
While the two proposed signs, one in the burying ground, one on Washington Street, would fall within our jurisdiction and would require COA. So we'll work on that with them moving forward. Next thing on the agenda is voting on new officers. One of the, I just want to also start by saying how grateful we are to Tim for all of your efforts over the past couple of years that you've been chairman. So I wanted to profusely thank you, Tim, for all your help, and also thank you for all of that additional information at the beginning of the meeting about where we stand with applicants. So first of all, thank you, Tim. Appreciate you very much. And we're envious of your travels to Florida. Right now, I'm currently vice chair, and one of the things that we had discussed at the last meeting that I want to alter slightly is that I could move up to the chair position since I'm currently vice chair, and if Greg Johnson does the vice chair position, and kind of do the same arrangement that we had discussed with Dane of helping with some of the communication, knowing that I won't really be able to do some of that end of the role. But I can certainly get here at the last minute on days that we will meet and be here in person to run meetings. This is an alternative proposal than what we discussed at the last meeting. Dane is very oversubscribed right now with different obligations, and I'd like to not add one more thing to his plate. My intention would be to be chair temporarily. My goal would be to make sure we can usher in these new members of the commission, and I know that one of them in particular had expressed an interest in being chair, and the thought would be to coach that person and have them assume the chairmanship when they're full-blooded members, and then we can have that transition period.
Okay.
So I'm happy to be a kind of transitional chair,
Yeah.
a temporary time period. I don't want to do this long-term. I appreciated the time and opportunities that I had when I was chair prior to Tim, but at this point, I'd only do this on a temporary basis until someone else who's willing and able and ready and interested in being chair could take over.
Mhm. Okay.
Just for the record, in case this is looked back on, do you want to explain why the vote last time didn't count? Because there's only a
Oh,
record
thank
of
you.
that in email, just in case.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine, for
problem.
that. So the vote that we had last meeting was that both Dane and Greg Johnson were going to be like co-chairs. But
Mhm.
upon further conversation with Attorney Michael Driscoll, he stated that that was not the proper conduct for operating and running meetings. He recommended the chair and vice chair roles
Yeah.
moving forward. So that's kind of where we stand on that. And I apologize for not having a chance to talk with folks about the thought of me assuming being chair and then having it as a temporary role. It was kind of a last minute thought earlier this week, and My work's
Mhm.
kind of crazy, so I'm sorry about that.
Well, if Dane's okay with you bumping him out of the chair spot, it's fine with me.
I think we'll fight about it later. But but I don't want to give him another obligation when he's already pretty oversubscribed.
Yeah.
And I would only do it with the intention of getting a new person as a more permanent chair in the very immediate future.
That'd be more like next year, probably.
Well, I'm hoping we can get that a lot quicker. Yes, Greg Parlow, I see your hand up.
Historical note, this, Leffingwell Inn, the furnace is gone, blown. So we're out, have to buy a new furnace. It's gone. Just thought I'd let you know.
That falls under the executive, but.
Yeah.
So do we have to come to you if we put a new furnace in? No,
If it's
Not if
inside.
you're not doing
That's
anything
it.
on the outside.
No.
no, it's inside. No, we're
It's
not
all
gonna put
inside.
those,
If it's all inside, you're fine.
heat pumps. Okay, good deal. All right, well, that's what we're in the process now, trying to find money to buy a new furnace.
So Regan, are you putting that on the table as a slate to vote on?
I will right now. So my proposed slate,
Hmm.
be me, Regan Minor as chair, Greg Johnson as vice chair, and Nancy would retain her role as secretary, in
I think
the,
it's clerk,
or clerk.
clerk,
No, she's
No,
secretary.
Secretary,
secretary.
yeah, I think it's secretary.
The statute says clerk or whatever, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I can't speak.
You can't speak. I'm trying to hear you. So again, my proposed slate of officers would be me as chair, Greg Johnson as vice chair, and then Nancy as secretary, to fill in the off chance that Catherine's unavailable. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept that slate.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Greg Farrell. Thank you, Greg Johnson. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, I'll do the roll call vote. I'll start with you again, Greg Farlow,
Aye.
Greg Johnson,
Aye.
Dane.
No,
Sorry, are you abstaining or voting?
I'm voting no.
Okay.
I'll say yes and aye, so the motion passes. All right, anything else to discuss this evening?
No, and I am in Florida at my parents' house right now, so I am going to sign off at this point.
All right, fun. So next
Aye.
is Wednesday, February 19th, 5:30, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
February 19th, February 19th.
So moved.
HTC.
Dane makes a motion. Greg Farlow, can you make a second to adjourn?
Sure. I'd like to do that. I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you, Greg
I was
Farlow.
just writing down the time and the date for next month. Okay.
You got it. All those in favor, let's just say aye all at once.
Yes.
All right. We're adjourned. Thank you, guys. See you next month.